Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for a match preview for an FA Cup third round tie that could easily be a final really, couldn't it? Chelsea have not had the rub of the green, the luck of the draw in a literal sense in the domestic cup competitions this season. League Cup, away at Manchester City. Love that, don't we? We get knocked out, we lose 2-0. FA Cup, you know what? If that wasn't enough once, we're going to give it to you again. However, after Chelsea's decent performance in the loss in the Premier League just 2 days ago, we might look at this and think, well, this is a free hit. If you don't know what a free hit is in cricketing terms, it's basically a ball where you can't be bowled out, so you might as well just go and try and hit a six. Chelsea might as well go to Man City and try and beat them 6-0. We might as well go there with absolutely nothing to lose and just give it everything. And I believe that Graham Potter is going to field, not only because he has to, because we have just got copious numbers of injuries, but we are going to field a team here that is probably going to be one of the youngest teams that Chelsea have ever fielded in an FA Cup game. We've got some genuinely good players still in that squad. My formation is a 4-2-3-1. The same as what we saw in the game against Manchester City, and basically a similar team to that we saw finish the game against Manchester City in the Prem. I think going back to that match, as much as I spoke about it in yesterday's video as well, I think Chelsea were really, really unlucky here. And we've already made 3 signings in this window. Badiashile, I'm not sure if he's going to be available. Don't think he'll start, but he might be on the bench. You've also got Andre Santos, who is now signed from Vasco da Gama, an exciting 18-year-old Brazilian, and Davide Fofana, who Graham Potter has come out and said, we're going to let him train, we're going to let him acclimatise, get used to everything, and then we'll see what we do with him for the future, which just screams out to me that we're going to send him on loan, which doesn't really make much sense considering we've not yet signed a striker, we don't really have a proper striker, and we are literally clutching at straws to try and be able to field a team and to build a squad match by match with players that are actually physically fit and able to run around a pitch. So, as per usual, just want to throw it out there right now. I've not kicked a ball in 2 years, but if I'm needed, I'm here. Give me a shout. Give me a buzz on your telephone. This is one of those little fibre pens. It's not a phone, but you know what I mean. This kind of game, Manchester City, they are domestic cup gods, mainly the League Cup. Over the years, they've been winning that one for fun. The FA Cup last season, Chelsea got to the final, beaten by Liverpool in a penalty shootout, exactly the same way that we were beaten in the League Cup final. So when we look at little patterns, losing twice to Liverpool last year in domestic cup football, maybe we lose twice this season to Manchester City. They're at home. They are massive, massive overriding favourites for this game. However, I'm buoyed by what we saw in that game at Stamford Bridge the other day. For whatever reason, I'm feeling more optimistic, which is so odd, isn't it? To get a bit of optimism from a defeat. But as we said, no one expected Chelsea to beat City, even at Stamford Bridge the other day. Now that we've got more and more injuries, no one expects us to win again. So with that being said, we begin with Kepa maintaining his place in goal. Don't think Mendy is quite ready yet, so Bettinelli's probably going to be on the bench. Kepa's in goal. We just got to hope that he doesn't make a similar mistake to what he did the other day. I've seen some takes from some of you lot who have criticised my criticism of Kepa Arrizabalaga. Quite often, when I receive numerous messages about my critique, I take a look at it. I think maybe, is there a way I could have looked at this one in a slightly different light? And I'm sorry to those of you that don't want to put any blame on Kepa and want to blame Cucurella for not tracking the run enough for Riyad Mahrez's goal, but there's no way I retract any of my statements. Kepa's got to do better when that ball rolls across his 6-yard box. But we move into a back 4 as Azpilicueta keeps his place at right back, because what else can we do? I do think Thiago Silva needs to be rested. I say a free hit in a positive sense of let's just go for the jugular and see if we can beat this incredible Man City team. But I also see it as a free hit because even though I've always said the FA Cup is a trophy that everybody wants to win, in Chelsea's current crisis, injury-wise, and predicament with form, Lots of stuff going on about who's going to play, what system do we use, what formation do we go with, who's the striker, the players care, so many questions. What I've done is I've tried to just pick a team that looks towards the longevity of, we've got Fulham, we've got Palace, we've got Liverpool coming up as well. Thiago Silva, if this man gets injured, we're doomed in the Premier League. There's zero chance of us getting top 4 if Thiago Silva gets injured. So Trevor Chalobah and Kalidou Koulibaly is my centre-back partnership. Badiashile, I've put him on the bench. I need to hear from Potter to see if he's going to be able to be featuring. I'm not sure yet. I'm making this video before we see the press conference, which is often dangerous. Lewis Hall is my left back. I've given Cucurella a rest. There's a lot of football to be played. The World Cup being sandwiched in the middle of this season means that despite all of the injuries and the lack of fluidity and flexibility that Potter will have by being able to chop and change the squad around, we've got to try and maximise what we got. And I'll tell you what we do have in Lewis Hall. Chelsea have got a player who is capable already of competing against the big boys at the very highest level. I've got zero doubts in my mind that Lewis Hall could become Chelsea's #1 left back within the next 3 years. I think he's got the capabilities. Yes, I don't want to neglect Ben Chilwell. Yes, we've spent massive money on Marc Cucurella, but Lewis Hall is not here to make up numbers. Lewis Hall isn't here to try and get enough minutes for enough Premier League clubs to look at him and be like, hello mate, yeah, you're decent. Chelsea is 15 million, he's your third choice left back. You've got to say yes because the player wants to go because he's not getting minutes. If Lewis Hall keeps doing what we've seen him do when he's on the field so far, he is going to be a shoo-in to become a regular. And I really, really hope that Graham Potter gives him the start in this FA Cup tie. Lewis Hall is there. We move into a pivot. We've heard this one before, but Dennis Zakaria was phenomenal in that game against City. The more I watch back the highlights, I gave Kovacic the first box, but Zakaria really deserved the first box in that video. Dennis Zakaria was phenomenal. And I'm putting him alongside Mateo Kovacic because I think you get more dynamism from a Chelsea midfield too of Zakaria and Kovacic. I think Chelsea dominated City in the middle of the park in that Premier League game. And I think if we were to go back and use Jorginho, I don't see Chelsea being as mobile with Jorginho in the team. I think as much as Jorginho can be good at controlling games, of getting Chelsea back on the ball, controlling the possession, getting us forward, I also think with Zakaria, he's more forward progressive thinking. So I think with Chelsea against Man City, even in the Premier League game, it wasn't, obviously we lost, so there's no talk of perfect here. It was more aggressive, it was more progressive. With Jorginho in there, I think there is less forward thinking. And I think we're slower, more susceptible to losing the ball in our own half, where City can advance a bit more. I think with Zakaria, we're more press resistant. And we've heard that buzzword many a time with Kovacic. So that is my midfield pivot too. Moving into a front three, I'm bringing Mason Mount back into the team. Obviously, there's no Sterling, there's no Pulisic. Amari Hutchinson, of all the players to come on, I think obviously I'm not criticising Hutchinson here. He's 17 years old, making a Premier League debut against Man City for more than 20 minutes. It's outstanding that he's even on the field, but I do think there was a bit of nervousness, which is bloody normal, may I add. So Gallagher, Chukwuemeka and Mason Mount is my Chelsea front three behind the striker, Kai Havertz, simply because Aubameyang does not deserve to be on the pitch after the shambles that was his performance against Man City in the Prem. Gets subbed on after 2 minutes and subbed off again. It's not the kind of the club that you want to be in when it comes to like players that have been subbed on and then subbed off again. Havertz, on reflection, I think probably did better in the game than I gave him credit for. That is my Chelsea 11. When we look onto the bench, there is Hakim Ziyech in there, Aubameyang still. I don't know about this one. I think it's one of those games where we can't really expect to win, but it is the FA Cup. It's a magic competition. Will City field a weaker team, or will they go all out here and smell blood against a very hindered Chelsea strength-wise team? That didn't really make much sense in the English language, but it is what it is. My score prediction, I think we're gonna give them a game. I think it's gonna be 2-2. I think we're gonna get something here. I do. I think there is enough energy in this team. There's enough fight from what we saw in that Premier League game to give me a bit of optimism here. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments down below. What's your score prediction? Do you agree with my Chelsea 11? I think the only thing I'm really convinced about, Lewis Hall's got to be left back and a Zakaria Kovacic pivot has to be. Otherwise, getting beat. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Subscribe if you are new. Come on, you Blues.